No, it made for a unique story. Like even with the way they did the phone bake, where they're like trying to figure out a problem. That, all right, we can make we. I have a friend that works in this area, and we can get the phone bake to make sure our customer service works. And they're just like certain interesting stories like that. And even when you read something like Walter Isaacson's book, and he talks about Elon, it was that same level of all right. I think he gave a story about the servers were messing up, and he's like, well, how long is it going to take us to get these things fixed? And they're like, oh, it's going to take months. He's like, no, we're going to get this done quick. And I think there's a level of recruiting and like a wherewithal there with Elon specifically too. Like, can you talk a bit about like their recruiting styles because of all these different characters that came to the company?
Yeah, it's an interesting it's a great question. It is, I think, one of the superpowers of some of the people at the heart of the story that people underestimate. Like engineers want to work for Elon, right? Not all of them, but enough of them. And like he's a very good judge of talent, and he's a very good recruiter of talent. So I'll tell you a story. There's like a story in the book, but I can kind of expand on it. There's this guy I interviewed a couple times. His name is Sanjay Bhargava, and Sanjay had like a failed startup experience and he was like looking around for what to do. And somebody introduced him to Elon over email. Elon was hiring for X.com. And he said, and they kind of have this chit chat over email. He's like, oh, I'm looking for something new to do. And Elon's like, well, why don't we chat like about you working here? And he's like, great. The next time I'm in your area, you and I can meet up. And Elon's like, no, no, no. I want you to come down like now. And so he, I think, flew down or something to meet with him. They meet that night. They start their dinner/interview at like 8 o'clock. They talk until 4 o'clock in the morning. And then Elon says, okay, can you come to the office in 4 hours and collect your offer letter? Right. And so he meant like, don't like just come 4 hours later, go get 3 hours sleep, clean yourself up, come to the office. I'll give you your offer letter. But he's both and Sanjay ends up building one of the most important innovations that made the company successful. And so Elon has a great eye for talent, and then he's also an aggressive recruiter of talent, and that is true of Max Levchin, and it's true of Peter Thiel, and it's true of all of these people that they were just exceptional at this. Like they were exceptional at building teams of people who could succeed in this kind of environment. And that I hope is something that like comes through in the story, is that it's not just that like you have one person who's like a super genius and can solve all the problems. It's actually that like what they do is they attract and inspire people and teams who can build these things and make them successful.
Yeah, I think when you think about their company too, it is that 0 to 1. Like the book to me explains 0 to 1. Like when I was reading your
That's
book, I
great.
was like, okay, now I can understand it a lot better because everything they did, they started very niche. They started with, like you said,
Yep.
the very it was just like beaming money to Palm
Yep.
Pilots, and then there's all this thing, and then the way they attacked eBay, and they're like, oh, no one knows how to do this, and everybody's using our system on eBay. It's just very unique about a lot of the integrations of their company.
Yeah, it was a company that I'm glad you said that, because it was definitely, I wasn't consciously doing it, but I've had a couple people tell me they were like, you sort of read 0 to 1 and then your book helps explain where 0 to 1 came from, right? And I'm like, that's high praise. But there are a lot of lessons that came from PayPal that applied to future things that these people did, including Peter Thiel, who's the author of 0 to 1. I'll give you actually one example that's not in the book. This story is, I just didn't have room to publish it, and there were a bunch of reasons why I was like, it's just going to take not, it's a too far field. But one of the things that PayPal did very well is they designed technology that could be embedded on other websites. So if you, Kyle, had a page or a store like online and you wanted to embed a PayPal button, they made that very easy for you to do. It was a little bit of code, and it was one of the first times that somebody had really like gotten buttons to be that easy to use. Fast forward, YouTube is being created, and the YouTube founders worked at PayPal. They knew how powerful it was to have technology that's easily embeddable onto other web pages. So they create an embed system. And the embed system works super well on this website called MySpace that is taking off. Some of your listeners might remember, like at one point, MySpace was the hot social
Yeah,
network
what's
of the
up?
moment. And so then all these users start posting YouTube videos onto MySpace. MySpace, the people who are running it are like, what is this? We got to shut this down. So they shut down like, the ability to do that. And what the PayPal folks who worked at YouTube and were creating YouTube remembered is that anytime a user is using your product, you can get them to revolt against the person who's making their life harder. So they put up a phone number for the MySpace office, and they put up an email address and said, if you're unhappy about YouTube being blocked on MySpace, just call these people and annoy them and get them to turn the rules around. And that's exactly what happened. But that strategy is exactly what PayPal did with eBay. Anytime eBay tried to like eliminate the button or change the button or monkey with this payment system, the PayPal folks would make hay, and they would get the users to create the protest. So it's just a long way of saying, like, part of the reason this book still has relevance is because a lot of the strategies that emerged from PayPal are strategies that these folks are still using to this day.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. And when you're talking about strategies, I thought about how all of them are very much gamers too, right? You had Elon that plays games. Reid Hoffman's like one of the top board game guys. Like he plays Catan and all these other different games. How did in Max was into games all the well as well? Like how did gaming like help their company in the sense of like strategy? And did you even think about that in that sense when you're writing this book?
Well, I don't know that it helped the company. I think it was a big part of the culture, right? So it was sort of like a lot of people there love playing games like chess or Go or poker or whatever. It was a part of like the atmosphere of the place. Like I have these photos that people shared with me of like late night games of poker that are happening like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. At the IPO party, they famously set up 10 chessboards, and Peter played 10 simultaneous games of chess. Um, chess playing, puzzle solving, it was all part of the place. To the extent it helped the company, it was more that they selected for people who were really, really good at solving puzzles and really good at this kind of thinking. And part of what they needed to do when they were creating the company is solve like hundreds, if not thousands, of different intricate puzzles, right? And so you could imagine that if you're very good at like strategy games, or if you're very good at puzzle solving, you might naturally fit in an environment where like everything, the battle against eBay feels like a strategy game. The battle against regulators feels like a strategy game. You're playing the most epic chess game against a competitor. There's a fit there, but it wasn't a direct one-to-one fit.
If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookupapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.